Welcome to the Story Studio podcast. Let's jump right into Sean's question for Dave. Go ahead, Sean.
All right. So Dave was giving his regular rant. I'm sure you've heard it about how his wife texts him hi, and then the normal. This is the normal back and forth. Well, she loves you. She wants to say hi. No, she wants to fuck me up in the middle of my writing by interrupting me, and she writes hi, and then I can't get back to my work because part of my brain space is devoted to what she's gonna say next. So my question to you, Dave, is as a percentage, what percentage of your...
He specifically said he wasn't waiting for her to respond. He was waiting for that loop to be closed.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't paint me in such a bad, storyteller.
light.
Okay, so while you're waiting for that loop to be closed, what percentage of your RAM? So you've just been interrupted from your great story that you're writing.
Yeah.
What percentage of your RAM is now dedicated to the loop being closed or unclosed?
99.9%. It's that little Apple spinning wheel just going on and on.
So a text will literally do that for you?
Well, yeah, because I'm wondering what I need to prepare for. Like
This is no. This is funny, but I totally relate. Like I do. Like I'm like, because especially when you said writing,
99.9%.
Well, it's
maybe 89.
No. Because if I'm in the middle, if I'm in deep work, right? If I'm writing, this is what changed it for me when you said if you're writing or something, then I need to immerse knowing I'm not going to be interrupted 30 seconds.
If you're in deep work, do you have your phone anywhere where it could buzz?
No, but if you happen to see hi, I'm then probably going to wait. Like then I can't. Once I've seen it, I can't unsee it.
With my phone, nobody really messages me except her, so it's there for her to contact me, and if she's like out of the house or whatever, then I'm just in case something goes wrong, like there's a flat tire or whatever.
Put it in a drawer then.
She can always knock on the door though.
She's only got one way to get in touch with me. Guess I better get rid of this.
No, there's times when I wake up that I forget to put my phone back up, the volume. And if she can't get a hold of me, she freaks the fuck out. She's like, I need to get a hold of you, and you're not around.
The police show up, knock down his door on his big battering ram.
Where does she think you went?
I don't know.
She's probably just like permanently worried that you're having a heart attack, right?
Right. I mean, that's really the only solution. Dave is either alive in his office or had a heart attack in his office.
Well, it's never concern about me. It's like she needed something, like some answer or something. I don't know. She needed a response from me. I should just make her wait. We got my son doing that now, and he's just as bad.
Of course, he was taught by the best. All right, so let's move into what we're actually going to talk about today. I actually don't know how we're introducing our bearded guest. I don't know if we're going by which name we're using. Sean, do you have a
real name?
thought on that?
Yeah, this
real
is
name?
Joel Quinn here. This is Joel in these parts.
All right, so Joel up in this. We're doing something with Joel. I don't really know what it is, but it'll be fun.
We called it idea parkour, and the reason we called it is because Joel is just kind of unafraid with his ideas, and he will run to the wall, and instead of slamming into it, his foot pushes into the next part of the wall, and all of a sudden he's on the roof. It really is kind of cool and magical to watch because, every time we have a story meeting and we're ideating, Joel is present in all of those conversations and always
just like I am in my marriage.
yes, that's exactly right. And so he's just always there, and the ideas are always present, but there's a speed and a fearlessness to the ideas. It may not be the best idea, but that doesn't stop him. So that's what's great, because a lot of creators get stopped with like, well, what if this idea isn't good? What if everyone here laughs at me? Or like, and I think that dulls a lot of our brilliance.
Joel will kill you if you laugh at him.
Well, Joel's intimidating, so it is good. But even so, like it doesn't matter. It's he just takes more shots than anybody else, and most of the ideas are good. And so that's really invigorating to any room. I think any quality story room where you're kind of bouncing ideas off needs that person who is just fearless and will run at the wall. And so we met Joel at a live event that we were doing a few years ago, and just it was kind of immediate, like, oh, this guy's an idea guy. He's a great storyteller, great voice. You know, let's tell stories together. So so that's kind of the premise. And I thought today, what does idea parkour mean? I don't know. I make shit up, but once we're all together, you know, we were asking each other in our meeting, well, what should idea parkour be? And we figured we would kind of brainstorm something live together, and to show, you know, one of the reasons that Joel is so fast with his ideas is that he doesn't think they're precious. You know, he knows that it's a bottomless well, and you could come up with what you think is the best idea anyone's ever had on Thursday, and on Friday before your eggs are finished, you've thought of a better one. Like, so he's always just willing to kind of put those out there. And there was that, like, well, what if we come up with just an amazing idea? You can have it anyway. That's the point of this episode.
One of my favorite things is when Sean invents a term like idea parkour, and either tells one or two people, doesn't tell anybody, and then we'll have a meeting, and it's just tossed out. You know, the enterprise, the idea parkour, the, I don't know, Project X or whatever, and like that'll go on for a while.
There is a Project X right now, actually.
And then somebody will get like brave enough to go, am I the only one who has no idea what we're talking about?
Yeah. So anyway, that's idea parkour. Before we get to idea parkour, does anybody have something cool?
Go ahead, Dave.
I haven't watched it yet, but there's a movie on Netflix. I think it's called Only, which sci-fi movie. Looks pretty good, about some event occurs and a virus spreads and women are like, they just start dying. So there's like, there's this couple, this guy and this girl, and like it's basically showing, like, I guess how, like, she's kind of in hiding because now that women are becoming dead, there's like this government agency or whatever that's like, you know, grabbing the ones that are still alive to experiment on them and to figure out what the hell's going on. So it looks really good. It's getting good reviews, so I'm looking forward to watching it.
It's on Netflix, you said?
Yes, it just
I haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah, it just yeah, the trailer is really good for it too.
So if she dies, does she win the marriage or does the husband win?
There is no winning. There is no winning ever.
That's
There's
Dave's
only
motto.
a gradual surrender.
Well, mine is nothing. Mine is nothing new. I'm hearing a weird feedback. Are you guys hearing that? There's like a
yeah. There's an
I
echo.
think Joel needs a headset.
Maybe. So anyway, mine is. It's like I'm hearing myself back at me. It's kind of cool. I like hearing myself. So mine is Hamilton, which it just came to Disney Plus. I saw it live. I may have talked about it when I saw it live, and so it's not new. I know, like most, you know, half the world has seen it now. But if you haven't, I just wanted to give props, because when I was watching it again, it's like one of those. It's just so amazing, at least for me. Like it hits all of my buttons, because it's really about legacy and leaving your mark, which are like sort of my sweet spots. And I just wanted to say, any storytellers out there, even if you are, because I'm not into musicals, I'm not really into Broadway, but it's just such an amazing story, and just so like emotionally invigorating. It gets me every time. So I just wanted to toss that out for anybody who.
Every female friend I have is trying to get me to watch that, and I'm kind of a contrarian asshole. Like, I know it's super popular, so fuck you.
I definitely hear that.
Shit on it. He just will. But
Yeah.
it is amazing. It is a masterpiece. Haley was obsessed with it like 4 or 5 years ago, so we heard it a lot. But I hadn't actually seen it until last Friday, and yeah, it's really impressive.
It was one of those things where it made me go, oh, this is another level.
Yeah.
Just for me anyway, where it was like, I thought that you know, most movies that I thought were here, I was like, no, they're actually, this one's above it. And just amazing. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but like the way that ends and everything, it just gave me chills.
The writing is just crazy great.
It does feature David Diggs, who goes
Danny
by
DeVito?
David Diggs,
Oh.
who goes
No,
by
he's Jefferson.
He goes by the name, or I don't know if it's a group or a name, Clipping, which is really, really fucking good. He writes like very like political, dark rap, and like I think you guys would fucking love it. It's
Did you
really
ever
good.
see him in Blind Spotting?
No.
It's good. He's great in it.
Well, the whole thing is obviously very political, and it's not like I'm a history buff either. So I'm not political. I'm not a history buff. I'm not really into musicals. But that said, it brought it alive. You know what it was is it's like I don't know if I'm going to be able to satisfactorily describe this, but there's this awareness that things happen in the past called history, and we know that those are real people and real things really happen. But there's this tendency to sort of like
Fake
put
history.
that in, to put it in sort of like a mental like, you know, that happened back then, and it's something in a book, and it brought all of that alive in a really, really cool way. So I don't know if I recommend it for Dave, but
Oh, I'm gonna watch it. I've committed to it. So
only female friends.
yeah, I don't know a single guy that's watched it other than you and Sean, I guess.
All right. Well, the waiting
Joel,
for
have you watched it?
punchline on that.
I have not. No.
Okay.
I was a little intimidated giving my something cool with both of you two watching this. Definitely.
I do. I only like a couple of musicals. I like Phantom of the Opera, and I like Les Mis. I don't like Les Mis's songs, actually. I like the story itself.
Yeah. Singing in the Rain is the greatest musical ever made.
Singing in the Rain is great.
You and The Professional are fans of that. Leon, you ever watch The Professional?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Another
he's
great
enamored
musical.
with Singing in the Rain.
Joel, you have something cool.
Yeah, man. The last time I was here, I talked about a record I was looking for a long time and found, and the same thing happened recently. I'm a big Steely Dan fan, and I found Gaucho on vinyl. Makes me very, very happy. Donald Fagen is a great storyteller with lyrics, and people should listen to Steely Dan more, not just because they're great, but because of that reason. He tells really good stories. So.
Yeah, that's
And I have a secondary something cool, and it's where Joel is. So if you guys aren't on YouTube, Joel is sitting in the manliest office that ever existed. There's a drink machine, a Terminator arm, an alien face sucker, and whiskey and beer.
Yeah.
All that's missing is like, I was going to say monster trucks and guns, but when you left, I saw there's a gun. So
and normally, Johnny, you don't normally see this. So on our meetings, normally Johnny is walking. But Joel is always standing, puffing on a cigar. Like he's not today, but he's
I've seen that before.
Always puffing on a cigar on the general meetings, which just adds to the mystique. I think your author photo definitely needs to be in swirls of smoke. My something cool is not a new movie, it's not super old, but I just recently saw it. It's Vice. Which was
is that the one where the lighting guy was unprofessional?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So when I saw the trailer for this, or maybe heard about it, or I don't know, and Christian Bale plays Dick Cheney, and I thought like, dude, will that guy stop it already? Because it's like stunt casting. Why are they casting that guy so he could gain 100 pounds and be like, look what I did? But after seeing it, I totally know why they cast him. Because he's amazing. He's so good at.
Well, he also went like anorexic for that other movie.
For The Machinist, yeah.
This is which I saw The Machinist for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and
That's
man, I mean, Christian Bale is just one of the greats. But watching him in this movie, like convincingly play someone from in their early 20s all the way through their late 60s it's just an amazing performance. But it's the movie itself has so much personality, and I don't know why I put it off. Vice was one of those movies like, oh, I know that's supposed to be good. I should watch that, right? It was just one of those movies, nominated for an Oscar. Apparently someday I'll see it. But I put it on, and it's Adam McKay, who made The Big Bounce, which explained the financial crisis, which is a very complicated thing, and yet he made it fun to watch. You know, he came up with like movies like Anchorman, but he's also a producer on Dead to Me. Like, you know, he's just kind of really evolved. And for us genre hoppers, we should really take note. But I forgot for some reason that Vice was his. And immediately, just a few minutes into the movie, it's owning it. It's not like a biopic at all. It's got so much personality, and it's got this like cool narration, and it's just got a lot going on. And this isn't a spoiler, but I'm just going to give you one idea of why this movie is just so wonderful. You're right at the midway point, and like all this stuff should be happening, and it is this perfect midway point where Cheney is now working for Halliburton, and he's kind of out of politics, and you just get one of those beautiful kind of ending montages where, you know, on biopics you always get where it tells you where everybody is now, but it's like this artificial future. You know, Dick Cheney did this, Lynn Cheney did this, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did this, but it's all bullshit, and it's getting like increasingly crazy, and you're like, this isn't what really happened. And then it fades to black, and there's fucking credits. Like, they actually roll credits for like a minute with actual, like, who played, and then it starts back, and you're like, oh, that didn't happen. Here's how history really went down, and everyone got fucked. But they played full out on actually giving a happy ending in the credits before pivoting. And just that kind of like bold storytelling that catches you off guard and doesn't do what you know, it's going to go left instead of right. I just love that. And so biopics are not the kind of movies where you get caught off guard at all. They're very predictable and usually not very good. And occasionally you'll get one like Steve Jobs that really outthinks the model. And I actually get confused. The one Aaron Sorkin wrote, which is really
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yeah. And that one, that's a really good biopic because it picks 3 pivotal points in his life instead of trying to tell his life story. And what Adam McKay did with Vice is awesome. So if you're at all interested, even remotely in the movie, Christian Bale, politics, Adam McKay, it's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Is it a musical number?
All right. So before we really delve into idea parkour, I just have to ask quickly because I realized I've been remiss, and I was talking to my family today about this, and I can't believe that I haven't checked in. But
are you queuing up a Dave story?
It is a Dave story, a Dave question, which is, you know, Florida is just getting butt fisted by the coronavirus, right? And so I was just like, I wonder what it's like for Dave, because they're, you know, like you guys don't even have to wear masks anywhere, right? Because they don't care. And
our governor is a fucking moron. He might be the stupidest man to ever hold office. Yeah, he's basically said, you know, we're not going to close anything, you know, just, you know, whatever. You don't even have you wear a mask, don't wear a mask, whatever. It's all a big liberal lie. Oh, and by the way, we had, as of yesterday, the day before, just 700 hospital beds left in the entire state, as thousands are every day getting it. And he's also decided in August, we're going to open schools. His exact quote was, if we can have Home Depot open, we can have schools open. So fuck you. Fuck Florida. Fuck you.
I have a lot
DeSantis.
of questions because Florida specifically, I think 3 out of the last 10 record days were Florida.
Right, and this came up because
we're number one.
This came up because
right,
I was talking. You know, Texas is getting it pretty bad too, and I was like, "Oh, we're just so much worse than the rest of the nation."
Florida's always going to be
right. And Robin goes, "No, you're forgetting about Florida." And then I thought, why haven't I asked Dave about this? And I'm thinking it probably hasn't affected your life at all because when did you ever leave the house?
Anyway?
He goes from his office to the basement.
Yeah, but
right.
when every when my son's got to go back to school because it's mandated, well, then I guess I'm going to distance myself from my family forever.
It's finally your excuse to move out to a trailer.
Haven't you wanted to move to Canada forever? Isn't this your chance?
Yes. The best thing though, is back in May or June, reporters were asking DeSantis questions about coronavirus, and he was bragging like, y'all said we're going to be the next New York, but we're not, so you know, fuck you. He's like really like out there like being like a dick. He's like, you said this was going to happen, but that's a liberal lie. Fuck you, it didn't happen. We're awesome. Yeah, that's
New York's new slogan. They're like, we're not Florida.
We're not Florida. All right, I got an idea for a brand new superstar musical, DeSantis. What do you guys think? All right. Yeah, I can have numbers like
water.
Yeah.
literally, and I don't like to talk politics because I fucking hate extremes on both sides. But it's literally become like,
Can we start a political podcast called Extreme with Dave and just you
Jesus,
rant?
no, I would piss everybody off. But it's just the fact that masks are politicized. Like, if you wear a mask, you're a liberal communist cuck. There's a West Palm Beach City Council meeting that's the best thing ever. You got all these people standing up and saying how they're not going to wear a mask, and it's just the Illuminati, Steve Jobs. It's just fucking insane. I seriously,
Florida's the easiest state to just knock off into the ocean too. I mean, it's asking for it.
Well, I feel like the rest of the world is finally seeing what I've always. It's like that scene in They Live. Like, I've had the glasses on all along. I'm Rowdy. Was it Rowdy Piper?
It's Rowdy Piper. Yep. He's there to chew
bubble gum.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, idea parkour. But before that, who do you think is the most intimidating or intense? Is it me? Is it Joel? Or is it Dave? Because we got some pretty intense folks here.
Yeah, it's different strains of intensity, for sure. Joel's got stoicism down. Dave's got the rage, for sure, and you've got just the quiet "I'm judging you" intensity.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm a little like I might kill you in your sleep.
In your sleep, right. But Joel won't wait until you're slumbering at all. Dave
will make great plans and then die on his own.
Well, no, Dave will poison you before you get a chance to poison him. Like, it doesn't matter if you have no intention of poisoning him. He's gonna make sure.
We should start like a super villains group.
Like that.
And this is how ideas are made.
Yeah.
All right. On that note,
speaking of ideas,
how are ideas made? So, Joel, talk about the difference between because you're great at both. You're great at just the flash ideas, but you're also really good at expanding out ideas and just for the full spectrum. Where Joel's, this isn't a weakness. This is a style. So when Joel's expanding an idea for an outline, for example, actually Johnny has this in common too. He just does not want a lot of details in that outline. He wants prompts that are going to help him trigger his storytelling in a really organic way. He needs to know enough about the characters, enough about their pain, and enough about kind of their overall arc so that he could just dig in.
And it's different. I've realized this. So what I'm working on right now is multi-storyline, big world, like a lot of things going on. Those are handled differently than a simpler storyline between a few characters too. And we can talk about that later, Sean.
Yeah. So the granularity to that is not there, but these big world ideas are there. So it's kind of weird. Joel can nail the small and he can nail the really big. It's the medium, which might just be because process-wise, it kind of bores him at that point. Like, I'm not there. I'm not going to make shit up that I don't know, but I need to know the really big stuff and the little stuff. So what's the difference between the size of ideas for you?
So I think the big thing is that there are sort of three levels of ideas, and that is there's the big ideas. That is the world, the thing that everybody sees. But then there are the tiny details. That's the thing that, like, the point of view character sees. It's the emotion that the reader needs. It's all the middle stuff that I pay less attention to because it's the stuff that is less knowable. So it's more observational. It's like what you notice as you walk down the street as opposed to what you created before you started walking. If that made sense.
You're pretty allegiant to the things you make up. So, for example, I've heard you say, "Oh, once I write something, it happens," right? Which is the same. Johnny's very similar in that way. He will go back on his written word if he needs to. He'd really rather not. Dave will get rid of anything if there's a better idea around the corner. So where do you fall in line with that? Like, what makes you really allegiant to an idea, especially since you don't have any fear about running out of them, but you also have like loyalty to the ones that you already have?
It's kind of like, I love every idea, everyone. They're all great. I don't care until it's rejected or it doesn't work out, or somebody says that's stupid, I'm like, fine, I throw it away and I go to the next idea that I love. And so
Not stupid.
Yeah,
You're stupid.
you're interesting in that way, Joel, because you what you just said would make it think that you're precious about ideas, but it's like anytime you're accepting criticism or anything, you're like, just rip me apart. Like I don't give a shit. Just tell me I'm an asshole. So it's an interesting combination.
Usually
Yep.
he has to pay for that sort of treatment.
which is a bummer because Dave has been providing it for free for many years.
I
But
should
the,
be like a writer dominatrix.
You could make a handsome living, dude.
Yeah. Or were you talking to me or Dave?
No, Dave. Dave, like if he had like a little, you give him maybe $30 a month, and all he does is like, you send in a writing sample, and he just shits all over it. Gets personal, talks
While
about
you
your
masturbate.
Yeah. So
That's the next level. That's the bonus package. That's
Yeah.
the upsell.
so
Every
anyway,
criticism is accompanied by a dripping of hot wax.
what is it about the because the speed of ideas is impressive. So what allows you, I mean, let's put the actual ideation aside for a second, and just what is it that allows you to turn your filter off, so that, is it because you're really comfortable with the room? These are all your friends, or would you be that way anyway?
I would be that way anyway. But no, it's because every idea, it kind of goes back to that belief that once the idea is said, or once it is on paper, or once it's out there, that it's a thing that happened. It's no longer a what if, it's a now here's the next thing. So I think that's what it is, because they're all lined up in the queue, just pushing that first one out. And when it pops out, now it's reality. So I pay less attention to what's real versus what's in the queue next.
Do you ideate or think about the story stuff differently when you're in a group than when you are alone?
Nope. It's exactly the same. I just keep more to myself if I'm in a group.
Okay, all right. So that is interesting. So you will have, how many ideas do you have for every one that you say out loud?
Oh my goodness, I don't even know if I could count them, because the idea isn't really formed until I say it.
Okay, yeah, I understand that.
And so there are many ideas that are very, very similar. They're all, it's like a cloud of ideas. And then when I say it, they have coalesced into this single thing.
I want to see this in action. I want to see some idea parkour, because right now it's just like, I'm actually trying to imagine how that would work.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, cool. So so again, we're gonna come up with an idea. Y'all take it. These are live wire. So, I mean, no shit, you guys. We did not, whatever happens in the next few minutes, we didn't talk about this beforehand. In fact, we were a couple minutes getting here late.
And I don't even know what I'm doing.
So we're just going to make up a story, because I think Joel and I are pretty comfortable with the live wire, and the three of us have done this before in some capacity. So let's start with, let's start with a medium. So do we want to make up a movie, a TV show, or a book? Because they're all slightly different, right? Dave, which one?
Oh, fuck me. A movie.
Okay. Johnny, what genre?
Suspense.
Musical.
No, wait, hold on. I want to make it harder than that. Not suspense. I want it to be like a puzzle movie. Okay. So like, think like Memento. Now, I don't mean it has to be literally like constructed that way, but something where there's layers, or The Prestige, or anything Nolan, really.
Oh, okay. All right. So a Nolan style.
Gotta work some magic here in 20 fucking minutes.
That's
Right.
all
Well,
right.
I want to see if they can do it.
That's idea parkour. All right,
Right.
that's fine. So we're talking something that Christopher Nolan would be interested in making.
So there would be some sort of a twist, some sort of a deep thematic meaning behind the whole thing. I mean, you guys don't have to come up with all that, obviously, but
Well, we got 20 minutes.
or just something that certainly seems to be deep. It doesn't necessarily have to be.
Right.
As many of his ideas are very much like that, where, upon really digging deep into them, you're like, wow, that's not really.
Or you can do it
the
either
movie.
way. or you can do it either way. So like, you can dig really deep into Inception, or you can appreciate it as like a really cool action movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's think about how. Dave, you give us a couple characters, and then
Oh,
Johnny,
fuck
you give
me.
us a couple characters. and then that'll be enough. And
Well, no, wait a minute. Would you start with the characters? Because personally, if I were doing this, and I'm not as good at this, so I'm not saying my way is the good way, but I would be trying to come up with the concept and then the characters. But is this the way you guys normally work? Characters first?
Okay, I'll start off with, I'll just fucking roll, okay? A woman.
You're taking Joel's parkour from him.
No. I'm going to give you the starting thing. A woman gets in a car accident, and she's with somebody, wakes up. That other person's gone. She has no memory. Okay, I don't know.
Well, but is it? But didn't you just kind of give them the idea?
No.
Like that's the hook I would be looking for.
Yeah.
Woman
Okay.
wakes up,
All right.
no memory.
To answer your question, Johnny, I think you're right. I think this does need to come concept first. The reason I'm thinking character first is because a lot of stuff that we do is it's not like working with Bonnie lately, especially we're doing stuff that just it starts character first.
Well, the reason I'm sort of pushing in the direction of idea, of concept, of story first is because I think that's what people are going to relate to most. Like, I can't think of a cool idea for my story.
I think you're totally right. So, basically, the specifics of your premise don't really matter, Dave. What you're saying is something about memory, right?
Yes.
Okay. So.
Well, I was just thinking of like inciting event. I don't know. I don't know what we're fucking doing. So I'm just playing along.
But that is what we're doing, though. That's literally it. So.
All right.
So you're talking about a woman who was in a car wreck, and then the thing to suddenly ask is not suddenly. Oh, hey, question. No, the thing to ask is, does she have the accident at first? Like, is that the thing that sets the story in motion, or is the accident the reveal? Like, is that the thing that we show at the end?
I think the accident might be the opening scene. Like she's just driving, and it's fucking sudden. Like you're 20 seconds into this movie.
Okay, hold on. I want to back up a little bit because I think that the three of your minds work a little differently than mine. I have to dig more for my ideas. So I'm sort of trying to be the audience surrogate here.
I already got the ending in mind.
Well, no, I don't at all.
Was it the butler? It was the butler, right?
And so the thing that you guys just leapt into and took as for granted, I think a lot of people are like, well, wait a minute. You just told me that the way you do magic is you make something appear, right?
Yep.
Like it doesn't. Like I'm already wondering, well, how did you get to that? Like you just pulled that out of the air, or is that what it always takes? Just like a random.
Yeah, because here's and you know this because of infinite story meetings, whether it's in general or just the two of us. Same with Dave. Same with any of us. Like you get an idea, and it's not the idea, but it's the idea that gets you to the idea that gets you to the idea that got you to the thing that you did. So,
but what would you be beginning with if you said, I want to, a woman has no memory or something like that? Are you starting with the idea of like, I really want to do a memory movie, or are you starting with, I want to do a trick movie, or I want to do.
That's what I picked up. You said trick movie. So that went into a pile, but then Dave said, okay, she wakes up and she has no memory. The only word I glommed onto there was memory. Oh, okay. So this is a memory story. And I like that. You got memory and puzzle. That's enough for us to really start picking at, I think.
And she's going to be an unreliable narrator, I'm guessing, and she's not going to trust anybody that's like trying to help her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we're talking movie's different than television. If this is a television show, we might want more time to get to know her before we see this accident. We might need to see more of the world that she lives in because we're going to be spending a lot of time there. But in a movie, it's more about the immediacy of the puzzle and how fast this has to happen. So I kind of like the idea of, there's a like a tonal shift that hits you like a bludgeon. So she's in the car for just like 20, 30 seconds, and you've got like some really happy song on the radio, something pop, she even maybe, start singing along, and then bam, like coming straight
got a kid
at
in
it.
the back seat.
Okay. Then
now Stacy just asked a question. She says, how does she know the guy's missing if she lost her memory? And that's interesting because there it is again, depending on the story that we're telling, whether it's a movie or a book or whatever, we can fill that information in immediately or later. Because there's a difference between what the reader sees in the car with her
or TV, right?
Yes. Because
Did I
you can
miss
show
the
the guy in the
missing guy?
car. Yes, Dave said it first thing.
Okay.
She was in a wreck. She wakes up with no memory, and there was a guy in the car, and he's now missing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Or maybe she does remember him, but nobody else that was at the scene remembers him.
That's way more interesting. See,
Okay.
That's way more interesting because then we're questioning her
And
sanity.
she's like, where the hell is he? Maybe it's her boyfriend, maybe it's her husband, maybe it's her child. I don't know. But she's like, where is he? And like, what are you talking about, crazy lady? We don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
You were alone. And just like, maybe it's an alternate reality. Who knows?
And she's like, I'm the one who, or no, like, he dragged me out of the car. And then someone's like, I dragged you out of the car, right? But it should happen, the crash should happen immediately. And then, you know, we find out how that crash happened. So that's maybe the midway point of the movie. And we're going back to slowly uncover. So basically you get the first 30 seconds. And again, this is because it's a movie rather than another medium. The first 30 seconds is that violent crash. And then the first half of the movie after that is setting up the puzzle. And then the last half of the movie is solving the puzzle. And to hit Johnny's kind of like, well, because I know that this ideation is happening in real time. So let me just kind of explain that. It depends on the story that we're telling, how the ideation would go. Right now, I'm talking structure because movies are so tight and we already have a concept, which is puzzle versus memory. So the question becomes, what kind of container can we put that into? And structure, I think, is the most important part of that composite.
All right, what next?
Well, first we need to know, is the guy real or not?
I would want that guy to be not clearly real or not real. Like, I like those things
So
that
you
are
want a spinning
ambiguous.
top.
I want a spinning top. Personally.
I like the idea of maybe we lead the audience to believe that like he was some sort of secret agent and everybody's denying that he exists, and this was some a plan to extract him, maybe by enemies, maybe it's like not spy, but like one of those sort of things. So she doesn't know if somebody took him, somebody killed him, his own people got him and removed him because he wasn't supposed to have a relationship, maybe some assassin or something. And maybe some reveal at the end is he never existed. It was like her alter personality. I don't know.
So that would be a little like A Beautiful Mind, really.
I've not seen that.
You could also make it so that he is in fact real, and we find out at the end that he was real, and part of this extraction that Dave's talking about, the mechanism they used to remove the guy, her memory of the guy, or at least everybody's memory of the guy, was this crash. So there's just
it's
this
a reset.
vestige left.
The crash is a reset. And it'd be great if you, like, it's not a wrong place, wrong time. You see at the very end of the movie, the last scene should show you how everything was manipulated for her to be in that place.
So like a Usual Suspect sort of deal,
Yeah,
right? Like a little montage at the end.
Right. And it's the kind of thing where this movie is way more rewarding if there's maybe 6 touch points from, you know, beginning to end, where all of a sudden they look different on the other side of the prism. When you're at the end of the movie, you realize, oh, I've been played.
In what way?
It could be like a force, you know, where magicians will force an answer from a participant. You know, it's a predetermined response. The person thinks they're making a choice when in fact they're not. The magician is making them do the thing that they want. That could be those touch points, that there are decisions that she has had to make in the past that seem to be free will, but were actually predetermined. And those get revisited at the end that show her being driven towards this course, this reset.
Right. It's all the decisions are heads I win, tails you lose. Or heads I win.
That's right. You said it right.
Okay. All right.
That's fine.
so you know, then the if you're tricking her, but you're not really tricking the viewer because they don't know. But by the end, you understand how she got into that situation. It's a much more rewarding puzzle. You know, if you give your audience a puzzle they can't solve, it's not really super rewarding for them, even if it's a smart puzzle.
Maybe we can cast doubt as to whether or not she arranged this, like she's a rival or whatever.
Yeah.
She arranged this for him, like for the enemies to come get him. But and maybe that could be true. Maybe it's not. Maybe he knew that she was arranging it and he counter-arranged something else. I don't know. You got a lot of shifting things here.
Or there was some self-sabotage on her part because she didn't want to truly forget him.
Right.
So like Eternal Sunshine.
Eternal Sunshine, or it's the opposite of Memento, where you see that he's forcibly trying to forget, right? There is manipulation into, because that is a really interesting theme, not just memory, but the manipulation of memory. So like she was setting herself up to forget or remember something before the crash. And, you know, this is a natural consequence. So maybe she designed the crash herself. And by the time you see that, it's a closing of an inevitable loop.
Yeah.
You know, like somebody texting after high and telling you what they want.
Yeah. But something that Johnny's been doing that I think is interesting that we should touch on, and that is every time he hears something that reminds him of a movie, he says the title of the movie. Oftentimes, ideation can start right there. What if we took Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and mixed it with Usual Suspects?
Yeah. And we
you
do
just go
that
from
all
there.
the time. It's shorthand. And, you know, we use things
That
like...
actually sounds rad, by the way. Somebody should write that story.
What was it? Eternal Sunshine and what?
Usual Suspects.
Oh, right. Yeah, that is awesome. To Joel's point, that is one of the best shorthands for ideation, because it's all those ideas are already there. So it's not that you want to go steal them, but if you go look at any movie and you start deconstructing it, so
there are no new ideas. That's the thing. Like they're all already out there. So remixing somebody else's work is really just remixing a remix.
Right. And if you look at why something works, and, you know, Usual Suspects is an example we've used here, as at the end, we see the mug with Kobayashi, and we know that, you know, we've been told two different versions of the story. And those visual tricks are, you know, pretty easy to put into a draft, but they're not the kind of thing that you have to do before the book is written, especially if you're Joel or Johnny. Because both of them aren't going to want to know what those 6 things are. They're going to want to know that those 6 things need to be there. And then they're going to want to write, figure out what those 6 things are, and then go back and make sure that...
Yeah, I'm actually leaning into, I think I'm much more truly a pantser than I was right to begin with, I think. But I needed some rails for it. Because in order, like when you're talking about this plot, like I think I just need the beginning of something, and then I will learn the idea as I go. Like I'm not good at coming up with the idea up front. But before we go in,
you need like a list of these things have to be in the story to make sure that it's a story.
I don't even know that I need that. I think I need like a really cool like setting, hook, and inciting incident. And once I know that, I think I can maybe figure it out.
And
but
characters.
I think it's at least some character. I think one thing that's worth pointing out, and I don't know that we have time to get into it today, but it may be worth mentioning, is we chose a visual medium. If you're choosing a book versus this, the tool sets are different. So, you know,
for sure, medium really matters.
Right. So like think of, you know, something that's a visual, like I know in one of our books, we wanted to have something where the real scenes maybe would have like some sort of a totem, like he was wearing his wedding ring in the fake scenes, but the real scenes didn't have a wedding ring. But you can't do that in a book because then you have to keep mentioning, and he wasn't wearing his ring, you know, whereas you can do that visually with, but you also then conversely, you can't play tricks with like somebody's identity or something in a movie because you have to show the same actor. So you can't try to pretend that they're two different people. So that's worth thinking too, is we have a few tool sets at play.
And at its core, regardless of whether it's a movie or a book, the beginning of the idea is the same. You know, just like Dave said, there's a woman, she was in a crash, she wakes up without a memory. That, at its basic form, doesn't matter what medium we're using. So, or this movie plus this movie equals this story. That also, it's just a way to get going.
Yeah,
totally.
right.
But sorry, just as a quick example, just to follow up on that, because to put a finer point on what I was saying, is if the reason that she doesn't, like, if one of the facets of her memory is that she doesn't realize that the person who was in the car with her is actually like her husband or something like that, you can't pull that off with a movie without a lot of like hiding things, because you're going to see that it is the same person. Whereas in a book, you can't.
Right.
Right. And it needs to be part of the attention, especially if you may be writing a book, but maybe you want it to be a TV show someday. So you can't write it like a TV show. You have to write it like a book that can be adapted to a TV show, right? And that's a different thing too, but it all comes with the ideation and where are you getting those ideas and how fast can you get them? And the great thing about starting with someone else's work as shorthand, it's this meets that, is that it gives you a place to start, because you're never going to end up with this meets that. You're going to start asking yourself more and more questions. And that's what ideation is an endless parade of questions that you're answering to get new questions. And it's a matter of like, when am I stopping so that I can start the writing process? And that's different for everybody. But if we're talking idea parkour, the lessons to take away are that you need to stop being precious. You need to just come up with your starting point. It's this meets that, or it's somebody who puts a memory. You know, you don't go looking for the perfect idea as the starting point. You start anywhere. And then the idea.
And if I can interject quickly, when you say starting point, you don't mean the start of the story or the start of the book. Or
I just mean the first idea. The first idea.
Yes.
And the first idea is never the best idea, ever, 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 ever. So all you need is the idea that gets you to the next idea that gets you to the next idea. And I think that what holds so many people back is that they'll come up with an idea and think there's nothing to that and discard it and go for another idea, where you could take that idea and say, what if there was something to this idea? What is the first thing I would change about it? And by asking yourself that question, you might have a better idea than you had 2 minutes ago. And if you keep doing that, you might end up with something that's pretty surprising.
Well, take it another step further then. So let's, I mean, we've been going for a while here, but let's pile some more ideas on it. So it's not just like, oh, we came up with a cool hook. Like, let's flesh it out just a little bit more if we can.
Okay, so do we want to talk about the specifics of the puzzle or the memory loss? Because the memory loss is pretty interesting to me.
I would like to talk about the specifics of the relationship between the woman and this possibly imaginary man, because that's what people are going to want to see. That's what they're going to want to do. They're going to want to be in that relationship. They're going to want to put themselves in those shoes, because otherwise it's just, she's just remembering a guy that may or may not have existed.
Maybe they dated, and if he is a spy or assassin or whatever, well, those would be two different things. But if he's not supposed to get close to anybody, and they get into a relationship, and he's just he wants to turn his back on it. He asks her to marry him, and the relationship is going well. I don't know if she knows or doesn't know. I guess that would depend on where we want to go with the twist. How involved is she and all of that?
Well, kin to that idea, why is it important that she find him? Like, if it's just like, she's
worried about him if she's in love with him.
Well,
like,
you could,
if you're traveling with your wife and your wife suddenly vanishes, you're like, well, where the fuck is she? And everybody's acting like she doesn't even exist, and you're like,
you would really
clumsy.
Right. Was if she vanished.
Right, but that's one way to go. So I guess what I'm asking, like, do we want to do it that she wants to find him because he's missing and she cares about him, or if we're going the route where she doesn't maybe necessarily know who he is or something like that, then it could be like, what is a ticking clock? Did he leave something behind that obviously needs to be handled?
Yeah, I like what you're saying, Johnny. We do need a ticking clock, because a puzzle needs to be solved with walls narrowing.
What if there's something in her car, and the police or some other government agency say that it links to some known attack that's going to happen, and they want to, maybe there's a password or something for an encrypted device. I don't know, something where there is a ticking clock, and they know that something's going to happen. Her guy was somehow involved in all this. Although if we're saying he doesn't exist, maybe they think she's the one involved. Maybe she's the suspect, and maybe a lot of this is in sort of like an interrogation room.
What if somebody's dead? What if there's and then the risk is that she would be, accused of killing this person or something like that. And it could be, if we want to play on the government agency sort of thing, it could be like he was another spy or something.
Yeah, I like that. Think of the Berlin Wall, and you have disparate factions suddenly working together. A guy is smuggling very, very important information, right? She is the person that is helping him. They fall in love during this mission, but nobody can know, or rather the enemy can't know, that he has this information, that he has successfully smuggled it. So they have to erase him from the scenario, or else they'll know he's dead. Because if he's dead, that means that the thing has been discovered, whatever the thing is, and
So do we need a MacGuffin?
She remembers him.
Do we need something that seems like it's important, like almost a distraction? Because
But it's in the background almost. You know how like you hear the war going on outside, or you hear people talking about something important. She's not concerned with that. She's just gotten in a car wreck. She didn't give a fuck. She's looking for this guy that everybody tells her doesn't exist. Who can?
you know what would be cool?
What knows?
You know what would be cool
Please.
in a scenario like this is if up front you actually give the answer in almost like the crash scene. Like the thing that we don't know we're supposed to be paying attention to is just right there. You almost have that situation where, like, you know, the cop on scene looks at the camera and tells them the answer to the riddle. And then you go on the scene, but no one's paying attention to that. And then when you see that later with the context change, you realize that, oh, I was looking at the answer right there. Because that can be pretty powerful, especially in a puzzle movie. And Prestige, I don't know who mentioned Prestige earlier, but Prestige does that beautifully. Like, you know, they come out and they explain the joke live. And then, I'm sorry, I was actually, if anybody wants to see this done really well in comedy, there's a comic named Hannah Gatsby. And she just did a routine that came out like, I don't know, a month ago. And it was amazing. She comes out and she says, okay, here's what my routine is going to be like. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to tell you this joke. But by the time I tell you, you're going to forget that I told you about it right now. And there's going to be 2 layers of what happens. You're going to get the joke and laugh. Then you're going to remember I'm telling you about it right now, and you're going to laugh harder. And she basically sets it all up so that when it happens, it's just uproarious
callback.
Yeah, it's really beautifully done. And like, we like that. We like the closure. We like being told. We like seeing cleverness, and doing that in that sort of a puzzle suspense narrative could be really powerful.
Yeah. And her search for him that isn't going to save the world. You know, it's not going to end the world. It's not going to do anything. It's just, she needs to find this guy.
Well, it's so intimate.
Maybe
such
if
personal stakes.
Well, if they're claiming like if there's some device or something that they've tracked to the car, and they think she's, you know, responsible for whatever's going to happen, she's trying to prove her innocence. In addition to maybe even wondering whether this guy used her, if he set her up. Like, I mean, there could be a lot of layers there. And then I don't know if the twist at the end could be that she actually did set it up. She used him. I don't know.
The twist could be, as Johnny mentioned earlier, that he doesn't exist. It could be her, that this manufactured entity, this other guy, was just throwing everybody off the trail. She actually has the device or the information unbeknownst to her.
Yeah, it could be
it's like
way
a
of dealing with guilt.
Or a mental partition that she's been trained to create to pass whatever sort of lie detector or torture sort of tests.
Another reference, Born Identity.
Right, or she can't deal with the consequences of what she's done. So it's not even about passing a lie detector. It's about thinking she has to think, and thematically, as a studio, we would get behind this story if, like, she needed to tell herself a better story because she couldn't live with the consequences.
So the beginning, maybe the beginning then is like she's like singing her favorite song and like reliving this happy memory with this fucking guy before her life went to hell, and she's going to put herself in a car wreck.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, it's been an hour. Any final thoughts we want to toss in, or do we just want to sort of leave that as like, well, do with it as you will?
One quick one. He said a mental partition. That would be a pretty good title. Partition, or The Partition.
Yeah,
I think the answer would be right there in the title.
I think the takeaway is that you know what, but that's exactly it, Dave. You could have like one officer saying to somebody else, like, fucking people, you would never believe what people can compartmentalize.
Well, you could also make it like part of a fucking hard drive or something that they have that they need to decrypt or whatever, so people can think that that's what it's referring to.
Yeah, for sure. My last final thoughts are just like, don't be precious. I mean, you saw, like, get a bunch of buddies together and just start talking. Like, friends talking story is
what if
a
you
fun
don't
way
have
to
friends?
Stories. There's chatterbait. Like, I mean, you could figure it out.
Wow, that's
Pulled that right out. What other services can I use, Sean?
This week's sponsor.
All right. So yeah, that's all I got.
So that's it. All right. Do we know yet what we're
Sean
doing
just
next
outed his kid.
there's always a plan. I just don't always know it ahead of time. So we don't know. Maybe we should stop asking that. It'll be something cool.
We actually do have a plan. We have a really good plan, but I don't have it top of mind.
All right.
So-
As far as like next week, there's the plan is already.
I kid you not, there's a plan for the next 46 weeks. That's not even an
What?
exaggeration. Yeah, for reals.
Who even knows if we'll be here in 46 weeks?
Well,
Wow.
you won't.
There's
Florida.
Dave.
Florida's gone, man.
All righty.
The Walking Dead.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening to the Story Studio podcast and hearing about Dave's Florida experience. Some good stuff right there at the beginning, and why
Next week, we're gonna
texting somebody
find out-
high is bad.
Yeah, we're gonna find out what happens after high next week.
After high, I think after high should be a new like 3 o'clock high.
I like it.
All right. How about a reboot at 3 o'clock high where that every day
I
Dave's
love
live
that
texts
movie.
are? Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. I already said that, and we'll see you next time. Bye, folks.
Peace out.